Hello.
Hello.
Welcome to the Listenercast.
It's us.
It's us.
And Nova.
And Nova.
I'm Ryan.
And I'm Whitney.
See? We're consistent. We did it again.
Welcome to the Listenercast.
And just by listening, you're a listener on the Listenercast.
Woo. All right.
All right. All right.
I never know how to transition these things.
No.
So yeah, today we're doing part 4 of
Part 4.
Words of Radiance.
Oh, yes.
Oh yes.
Oh, yes.
Super excited.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so as always, we'll do our yapping at the end. So that way we don't get in the way of your podcasting.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, we're gonna go ahead and get started.
Yes, we are. We're going to be starting with Interlude 9.
One of the longest interludes ever.
I think it is the longest, if I'm not mistaken. Longest in this book.
Yeah, at least in this book for sure.
Yeah. Lift.
Lift.
We meet a young girl named Lift, who is also a surge binder. She is being hunted by a man called Darkness and is currently helping burgle a palace. Much happens, and at the end, her counterpart becomes the new Prime, and she learns new words that further her abilities.
Her awesomeness.
Her awesomeness. I'll jump right out and say it, Whit.
Okay.
I feel like Lift is one of my favorite characters in Stormlight.
Mm-hmm.
Period.
Okay.
Yeah.
End statement.
End statement.
Yeah, she's great. When I took the fancy quiz, it tells me what order of Knights Radiant I am. I got Edge Dancer, so I'm also a little inclined.
Yeah, I feel like we haven't talked about that either.
Yeah, I don't think we have.
Yeah, I got Light Weaver, so yeah. I really like Lift. I like her as a character. I think there's a great contrast because our other Surge Binders are a little bit older than her.
Mm-hmm.
I think the closest one we've met to her is Shallan, who is 17.
Right.
And Lift is 13.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a big difference between a 13 and a 17-year-old.
Yes.
Especially maturity-wise. And especially compared to Shallan and Lift.
Yeah.
Because Lift is goofy.
She is.
She's so silly.
Mm-hmm.
And she doesn't care at all.
She's very unabashedly herself.
She loves learning new curses.
Yes.
She loves to eat.
Just like me.
Yep. And she has a good form of naivete that I really appreciate because, yeah. Let's get into it.
Yeah.
How about that?
If you have any notes early on, go ahead, because mine are later in the chapter.
I do. So it's really just when we meet her spren called Windle.
Mm-hmm.
And I just kind of have it marked here where he's like explaining like, I'm a spren, I'm not a void bringer.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, you're my pet void bringer and no lies are going to change that. I got you captured. No stealing souls now. We ain't here for souls, just a little thievery, the type what never hurt nobody. Yeah. So I just like that this is a spren that has a personality. Different. Okay, so Pattern has a personality, but
still definitely does.
But I feel like the only other comparison we have it to is Still, because it seems like Pattern is more robotic.
Yes.
Which is just,
yeah,
par for the course for his type of spren and everything.
Mm-hmm.
But I like that we have a very a kind of a pompous Spren who's being put in his place. So I really like that. It's very funny.
Yeah, something that I think is really interesting because we learn about like her powers, I guess, is that she is like she slides. She's able to like glide on surfaces. And like she I don't know, I guess Wendell is trying to justify how this works. And he says somehow you are partly in the cognitive realm.
Yeah.
It's the only answer I can find as to why you can touch Spren and metabolize food directly into Stormlight. Because like she is like she's able to like use Wendell as to like where she can climb his vines and things like that. And like we have seen like Kaladin can't really touch Syl. Pattern isn't really like also touchable.
Yeah.
But like Lift is able to use Wendell as a tool physically.
Which is really cool.
Yeah, so she's somehow partially in the cognitive realm, which is really interesting. And also it's really interesting that she also metabolizes food straight into Stormlight.
Yeah, she like doesn't absorb Stormlight at all. She has to eat.
Yeah.
Which is very strange and really, really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely different than like with Shallan and Kaladin, we just see they inhale and that's how they get their Stormlight.
One thing I kind of noted here with so Lift is Reshi.
Yeah, she's from the Reshi Isles.
Yes, but she's not from the Isles.
Right. Well, yeah.
She grew up in Ral Elarim, and during this is like, nope, grew up in Ral Elarim, the city of shadows. Yep. Is it? Yep. Just like they say. That little bit of dialogue kind of tells you all you need to know about the City of Shadows.
Yeah.
The fact that, okay, Ral Elarim is called the City of Shadows. This person is asking, is it? Yep. Exactly how he will talk about it. So this place is probably a dangerous city, and it probably sucks. And this is where Lift is from.
Right.
And I like that a lot because that just gives us all the world building we need for right now. That was it.
That's all. Do you have anything like kind of in the middle of the chapter? Because the next thing I have is right towards the end.
Does it involve darkness per se?
Not this. I mean, like it does involve him, but not the dialogue that I have selected.
Go on ahead.
So it's after they kill Gox.
Yeah. Okay.
And Wendell had mentioned to her earlier something called regrowth. And she was like, yeah, whatever, don't care. I'm awesome. Don't need it, whatever it is. And then she sees Gox die, and her reaction, she's like, who would cry for him? Nobody. He'd be forgotten, abandoned. And then she's saying to Wendell, she's like, you spoke of something earlier, and he says regrowth. Each bond grants power over two surges. You can influence how things grow. And I said, and she says, can I use this to help Gox? And he says, if you were trained better, yes. As it stands, I doubt it. You aren't very strong, aren't very practiced, and he might be dead already. And Wendell says, why do you care? And she says, because someone has to. And I don't know, I just like that because we get like, and then obviously she ends up bringing him back to life.
Yeah.
So it's just cool to see, like, we now have an edge dancer who has similar powers to Kaladin almost, and where he can heal himself with Stormlight, but she can heal other people.
Yes.
So it's cool to see both sides, and like, again, reaffirms you are part of an order, but you do have the power over two surges.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of what's best to say. Oh. So anyway, whatever. I have marked here like her words that she says and everything.
Yeah.
It's like, I will remember those who have been forgotten.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is okay, so this is like, tells us what we need to know about what edge dancers, like their whole thing is like, we will remember those and everything. But
which goes into her being like, he says, why do you care? And she says, because somebody has to.
Because somebody has to care.
Yeah.
And I really like that. And I think this goes along the lines of maybe something I touched on earlier with like different spren having different morals and everything, and orders having different morals.
Mm-hmm.
Because we see that Lift is fine with stealing.
Yeah.
Stealing is fine because nobody gets hurt.
Right. It's when someone gets hurt that there's a problem.
Yeah. And that's exactly what happens here. But in her conversation with Darkness,
mm-hmm.
who we assume is another Surge Binder, they have shard blades and everything.
Yeah.
Their whole thing is the law is the law.
Yeah.
And you even see the two of them get into an argument. These two Surge Binders, you see Darkness and one of his minions, like, because he killed Dox.
Yeah.
And then Darkness is just like, you will be punished for this later. You did not fill out the proper paperwork to kill this man and everything. It's just like, but he was, he broke the law and everything. It's like, that doesn't matter. The law of this land, you need to fill out the paperwork.
Yeah.
Whatever land you need to follow the law.
Yeah.
And whatnot. Like, and I find that so, I guess, fascinating to be like, you have a very chaotic good character facing against lawful characters. Not even like it's lawful neutral. They only care about the law.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's just super cool, super neat. And this is the second time we've seen a Surge Binder heal somebody else.
Right.
And the other one was the Cobbler.
Mm-hmm.
And he had a different type of spren.
Yes.
So that means he was just a different order. And I don't know what order it is.
I don't either.
You?
No.
Oh, well.
Oh, well.
No. I'm sure somebody will tell us, or we can just find out on our own. But I don't know. I think this is just a good chapter showing us a different side of the world.
Mm-hmm.
Different characters entirely. It's like a good, just little short story, like just by itself.
Well, that's why we get a novella with Liv.
Yeah, we do get a novella after this, all about Lift, which I'm very excited to read because I do like that.
I don't know if I ever read that one initially.
I definitely read it after I finished. I read both that and the other novella after I finished Oathbringer.
Yeah, I think I finished the whole series and then I went back to read them, and I remember I didn't get through either of them.
Have you ever gotten through them?
No.
Really?
Mm-mm.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like, I know Dawn Shard is important.
Yes.
But I don't remember Edge Dancer pretty much at all.
Mm-hmm.
So, anywho.
Yeah. Are you ready to move on?
Yeah.
Cool. We find Szeth pondering his existence and purpose at Urithiru.
Yeah. I don't have any notes on this chapter. Do we know it's Urithiru? I mean, yes. I guess we do by the way that he describes it, but I don't think he explicitly says Urithiru. This place was holy. He was yeah, so it says he's holy, but Urithiru is never mentioned in this chapter.
It is.
But, well, it says, no, it's not.
It's on the first page.
Where?
At the very bottom.
Oh. LOL. Guys, I never learned how to read.
Yeah, like, no, it's not. It's like, I'm looking at it right now.
I'm literally reading it. What do you mean? Sorry, everyone. I'm illiterate.
It's all good. Urithiru ruled even the clouds.
The massive tower was also empty. That was another reason he liked it. 100 levels built in ring shapes, each one beneath larger than the one above it to provide a sunlit balcony. The eastern side, however, was a sheer, flat edge that made the tower look from a distance as if that side had been sliced off by an enormous shard blade. Yeah. I don't have anything.
I just had marked here where it's like, oh, glass windows facing east towards the origin.
Yeah.
That's weird.
Yeah.
That's strange. I had also, he had fought an impossibility, a man with stormlight, a man who knew the storm within. That meant problems. Years ago, Zeth had been banished for raising the alarm, the false alarm, it had been said. The Voidbringers are no more, they had told him. The spirits of the stones themselves promised it. The powers of old are no more. The Knights Radiant are fallen. We are all that remains. All that remains. Truthless. So we now know the reason why he is truthless.
Yeah. And I mean, like, it happened when, in part 2, when they were fighting and Kaladin shows him that he has Stormlight, and then he freaks out and he's like, no, they called me a liar. Yeah. Or
they named me Truthless.
They named me Truthless.
Yeah.
So I guess this is just like more confirmation of that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
The very end, it would take days to get to where he was going, but he would find answers, or barring that, someone to kill of his own choice this time.
So does that mean he's... Oh, sorry. I was kind of far away from the mic. Does that mean that he like lost his Oathstone if he's allowed to kill by his own choice?
No, I think he's abandoning that. I think in this particular, like, he's like, oh, they named me Truthless, but what I told them was not, like, it was true.
Right.
And so he's going to go find answers and somebody to kill. And it's his decision now.
Mm. Okay.
I-11. New Rhythms. Eshonai meets with the 5 and discusses the future of the listeners. She disobeys their commands and begins to collect all the people not willing to change the storm form and plan for them to be dealt with. At the end, these people end up escaping.
Yeah, so she wants to turn everyone into storm form because the more people they have, like, the more powerful they will be, and like what they're trying to summon a storm.
Yeah.
And so Eshonai is like the next high storm. We need to have as many people turn to storm form as possible so that because if we are in this form, then we ourselves, we can create high storms. Mm-hmm. But we need everyone to be in this form.
Yeah.
And yeah, her own mother,
and she didn't even realize.
Didn't want to change into storm form.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And her, like, once mate and, like, her partner, like, leaves with them.
Yeah.
And they escape into the chasms.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, they're going to die in there anyway. So, yeah. You just do get... Because when we're first shown Eshonai, she's very much like a character that wants to end this war. She cares about her people. She's, like, sick of watching all her people die, and we also know that she was the one to first meet the Alethi.
Mm-hmm.
And now she's just, like, completely 180'd and just wants, like, them destroyed.
Yeah.
And isn't it in this, like, is it at the end? Let me see.
She does, like Venli says, like, or like there's a whole thing between her and Venli where Venli's like, Eshonai says, you knew what this form would be.
Yeah.
And you still, because Venli's like, you need to stop.
Mm-hmm.
And then Eshonai's like, don't challenge me. Like, you know what you did. You knew what this form was before you made me turn it, or like not made me turn into it, but before I turned myself into it.
Yeah. It's tough. It's tough to watch this.
Yeah.
Just because we're like, oh man, we were so close. But
yeah. But then we wouldn't have a book.
We would not have a book.
But yeah, that's all I've got for this. Part 4, The Approach. Kaladin, Shallan, and Dalinar. Chapter 59, Fleet.
Kaladin is lamenting in prison when Wit decides to join him. Wit asks him to tell him a story. And we hear the story of Fleet, who raced the storm.
Yeah, I like that scene a lot.
Mm-hmm.
God, Wit always just has some good moments like this. It's interesting because, you know, Wit's like, I want you to tell me a story. And so he starts by telling the story of Fleet and, but he makes Kaladin tell it. So Kaladin ends up telling his own story.
Yes.
And like Wit knows everything that's happened, even though he hasn't, you know, been by Kaladin's side this whole time.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
It is pretty cool. I have marked here, I think before Wit joins him, it's where he's talking to Syl. And he says, like, Moash and his friends are right. The kingdom would be better off without Elhokar. And Syl dropped to the floor, head bowed. And yeah, it just kind of shows like, oh, he's
far gone.
He's far gone, and it's hurting Syl.
Yeah. And I mean, like, we see while he's in prison, she kind of starts to revert back to the state she was in when he was like just in the slave wagon in the Way of Kings. Like, she starts to revert back to that state, and he, like, over these couple days that we see in this part, he sees her like becoming, like, reverting, and he thinks that like she's just playing a trick on him because she doesn't agree with what he's doing.
Yeah.
But really it is their bond.
Yeah. I like how this ends, where Wit says, I know most stories, but I'd never sung this one before. Wit looked back at him smiling. What does it mean, Kaladin of Bridge 4, Kaladin storm blessed? The storm caught him. The storm catches everyone eventually. Does it matter? I don't know. Good. Wit tipped his sword up towards his forehead, as if in respect. Then you have something to think about. He left.
Pretty cool.
Pretty cool.
All right. Chapter 60, Veil Walks.
Shallan and Pattern are studying the maps of the shattered plains that they got from Amaram. After some time, she discovers some improvements to her powers.
Yes.
Yes.
I was thinking about this chapter earlier and we were talking about something.
Oopsies. Speak on.
So this is the chapter where I think, hold on. I mean, I guess it happens in this part anyways, where she realizes Pattern can like hold Stormlight.
Yeah.
So she can create illusions to like walk and like move around and stuff. What I have marked, there is one thing here where Pattern says, they're talking about sarcasm, and Shallan says, Pattern, nothing is less funny than explaining humor. We have more important things to discuss. And he says, such is why you have forgotten how to make your images produce sound. You did it once, long ago. And then it says, Shallan blinked and then held the map. So just more Pattern being like, we've done this before a long time ago. You've been doing this for a long time. And every time Shallan's just like, I don't know what you're talking about. Or just ignores him completely.
Yep. I think it's like, and he also has this part where he's like, you wish to help, you wish to prepare for the Everstorm, the spren of the unnatural one. You must become something. I did not come to you merely to teach you tricks of light. You came to learn. That's what you said. I came to learn. We became to do something greater. What would you Would you have me unable to laugh? She demanded, suddenly holding back tears. Would you have me crippled? That is what those memories would do to me. I can be what I am because I cut them off.
Yeah.
And Pattern, like later on, is just like, such a deep lie indeed. But still, you must obtain your abilities, learn again if you have to.
Yeah.
This is her first time kind of like Shallan admitting that she's blocking off memories, right?
Right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because every other time she's just like brushed it off.
Yeah.
Or just like acts like she doesn't hear it. So this is the first time I think that we get her actually admitting to it. She is sitting really funny.
Yeah.
Kitty cat. Okay.
Kitty cat.
That's all I have for that chapter.
Same.
Cool.
Ooh.
Chapter 61, Obedience, is another Shallan flashback.
Yes. Shallan flashback. Shallan has started helping and being a more picturesque version of what her father wants. Shallan's father has told Balat that he is not allowed to marry Elita. Shallan then makes a plan for Balat, Elita, and Malise to escape.
I don't have any notes in this chapter.
I don't either.
But you do see, like you said, like Shallan's trying to become the perfect daughter and just like be what her father needs her to be. And yeah. She's just doing everything she can to like protect everyone else, essentially. Because she's like, well, if I'm the perfect daughter, then hopefully he won't take it out on anybody else.
Yeah. This is also where basically like, don't we learn that this is where they're starting to make more money now?
Not yet.
Not yet. Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the pretty straightforward one there.
Chapter 62.
The one who killed promises.
Dalinar visits Kaladin in prison and lets him know that his men are fine and that Elhokar is loosening up and plans to pardon him. He then informs Kaladin about Rashon and that he was connected in Moash's past. Also that Rashon was exiled and was the reason that he came to Hearthstone. After learning this, Kaladin decides that Elhokar is the reason for his family's transgressions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The only note that I have is at the end of this chapter. So if you have anything earlier on.
No. Well. Oh, this is where Syl says, like, when she flew off, she's like, there was a cryptic at the fight. You mentioned this before, didn't you? A type of friend or a vaulting type, but not evil, I don't think. She sounded begrudging. I was going to follow it as it fled, but you needed me. When I went back to look, it had hidden from me. What does that mean? Cryptics like to plan. Yes, I remember. They debate and watch and never do anything. They're looking for someone. I've seen the signs. Soon you might not be alone, Kaladin.
Yeah, so I guess like still, I mean, obviously seeing another spren around that's not just like a wind spren or a flame spren or something that's like attracted by humans traditionally, like seeing something that's similar to her and whatever level of spren she is like, she knows there's going to be more surge binders.
Yeah. So
that's cool.
It is.
Before we get to like my note, I guess, yeah, the fact that Rashon was exiled because of what happened to Moash's grandparents, like it makes sense. But then for Kaladin to be like, oh, well, he got sent to Hearthstone. Yeah. So because he came to Hearthstone and like messed with my family's life, then he blames him from that point on. So he's like, Elhokar has just screwed up my entire life. And I hate that he just goes straight for that, because like I feel like there's so many more intricacies to the situation than like we probably get to know, which is like, is life. But I don't know.
That's what I was going to bring up last episode. I understand why Moash hates Elokar. I completely get that.
Yeah.
Kaladin's whole thing, because at the end of the day, if he is to hate anybody, I feel like he should hate Rashon for putting him in that situation.
Not Elokar.
Yeah, because Rashon actively, like, he is the one that messed with his family, not Elokar.
Yeah.
He is the one that sent Tien, and like, it's just really like, Kaladin, what you're kind of just blaming. You're blaming somebody who doesn't need to be blamed.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He didn't send Rashon there thinking that that he was going to do these terrible things. He sent him there so he couldn't do any more harm. The fact that he did do more harm, that's on him.
Yeah. Oh, Kaladin.
Kaladin, come on, my boy. Learn.
Yeah, and the last thing that I marked in this chapter is when Dalinar and Kaladin are talking.
Mm-hmm.
And Dalinar says, "Son, do you know why I put you in the position that I did?" And he said, Kaladin says, "You said it would be because you needed you said it was because you needed someone you could trust to not be a spy for Sadeas." And Dalinar said, "That's the rationale, but it's not the reason. I did it because it felt right. I trust my hunches. My gut said you were a man who could help change this kingdom, a man who could live through damnation itself in Sadeas' camp and still somehow inspire others, was a man I wanted under my command. I gave you a position no Dark Eyes has ever held in this army. I let you into conferences with the king and I listened when you spoke. Do not make me regret those decisions, soldier." And Kaladin says, "You don't already?" Dalinar says, "I've come close. I understand, though. If you truly believe what you told me about Amaram, well, if I'd been in your place, I'd have been hard-pressed to not do the same thing you did. But storm it, man. You're still a Dark Eyes." And Kaladin says, it shouldn't matter. And Dalinar says, "Maybe it shouldn't, but it does. And you want to change that. Well, you're not going to do it by screaming like a lunatic and challenging men like Amaram to duels. You'll do it by being distinguishing yourself in the position I gave you. Be the kind of man that others admire, whether they be light-eyed or dark. Convince Elokar that a Dark Eyes can lead. That will change the world."
It's true.
That whole conversation they have is like 10 out of 10.
Yeah. There's a reason why Dalinar and Amaram are respected by both Light Eyes and Dark Eyes.
Yeah.
Because they are honorable and they don't, behave in manners that are public.
Mm-hmm.
And, more, I guess, bombastic and everything.
Yeah.
So you have to lead by example.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Are you ready to move on?
Yeah.
Okay. Chapter 63, A Burning World.
Shallan and Pattern are scatting. Skibbity up.
They're scatting.
Shallan and Pattern are scouting out a drop location where the Ghost Bloods are going to give her instructions on her next job. Shallan gets the drop on Eotil and head to complete the job, which is to find out information on a madman that Amaram and the Kholins are interested in. Shallan eventually makes it to the madman, which is Taln, and questions him. He eventually gets hostile and quickly de-escalates. Shallan then notices that Amaram is on his way.
Yes.
Yes.
I really don't have... I have like one note in this entire chapter.
I do too. You go on ahead.
Okay. I mean, we can just kind of talk about like... I think the whole sequence where Shallan is like staking out this tree and they never see anyone come and like put anything in the tree. And then it finally clicks to her like, Pattern, go look below me and see if anybody else is, watching this same place.
Mm-hmm.
And she's able to sneak up on, what is her name?
Eotil.
So she's able to sneak up on Eotil in that way. And it's just really cool. And like she uses the powers that they figured out earlier as to where she can light weave onto pattern, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, having her, like, light weave duo go to the tree and, like, act like it was taking something out. And then as soon as she walks away, Shallan's, like, in the doorway where Yatil is and is like, so what do you need me to do? And Yatil's like, like, is genuinely surprised.
Yeah.
So I just think that's cool. And then, yeah, they go to the Ardentia, or where are they keeping this guy? I forget.
It's just like a mental hospital.
Oh, okay.
Thing. It's just where they're like keeping mentally ill people. So one thing of note here is like we learned that Mraize is not Yatil's master.
Yes.
We learned that Mraize is the Yatil student. Mm-hmm. And Shallan asked her, why the mask? What does it mean? Why do you hide? She says, I have many reasons. I have many times asked myself why those of you here go about so brazenly with features exposed to all who would see them. My mask reserves myself. Besides, it gives me the ability to adapt. I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. It's just like it hides my emotions.
Yeah. I have it marked whenever they get into this mental hospital thing. Place. Yeah. So she knows, we know it's Tom, but what he says is the time of the return, the desolation is at hand. He says we must prepare. You will have forgotten much following the destruction of times past. And he just keeps like repeating this, and he tells her his name. And she's like, he says like, I'm Tolinel, the one, or Tolinel Elin, the one you call Stone Sinew. And Pattern's like, I know that name. And she said, that's one of the heralds. And it's just like, now we know, I don't know. Well, everyone thinks he's a madman still.
Yeah.
But in theory, he is confirming the desolation is coming.
Yes.
That they are about to have another desolation.
Mm-hmm.
That was my note.
Yeah.
It took me a minute to get to where I wanted to be there, but
no, you're good. When Shallan uses her ability, and he like freaks out, and he's like just staring at her and everything, and he immediately goes like, "Oh, she almost summons her shard blade."
Yes, and he like goes like essentially knock it out of her hand.
One of Ishar's knights, I remember. He founded them, yes, several desolations ago. No longer just talk. It hasn't been talk for thousands of years, but when? Yeah. Shallan inched forward and found that he was back to whispering the same things as before. She dismissed the blade. Mother's soul. Shallan, are you mad? She shook herself. How much time had passed? Yes, she said, walking hurriedly for the door. I love that. We're just like, are you mad? Yeah. I'm crazy.
Yeah.
I'm insane. What are you talking about, Pattern? Are you ready?
I am ready for chapter 64. Treasures.
Fraser's. Kaladin is still sitting mad in his cell, and still says that she's worried about him. Meanwhile, Shallan hides herself using her powers and listens into the conversation between Borden and Amaram. Shallan corresponds her findings, and Mraize says that she is now a full member of the Ghostbloods.
Yes. I have 0 notes in this chapter.
I also have 0 notes for this chapter. Okay. Wow.
I feel like you hit...
Wait.
Oh, he lied.
I am so sorry.
No, you're fine.
No. I do have what Mraize says at the end of this chapter. The truth destroys more people than it saves, Vale. But you have proven yourself. You no longer need fear our other members. They have been instructed not to touch you. You are required to get a specific tattoo, a symbol of your loyalty, I will send a drawing. You may add it to your person wherever you wish, but must prove it to me when we next meet. Welcome to the Ghost Blood. Yeah.
Yeah, so
she
Shallan,
has to get a tattoo now.
Yeah. Which is crazy.
Mm-hmm. I think she gets it on her butt cheek. She actually just gets a tramp stamp.
Oh my God.
That would be terrible.
That would be horrible. I think she should do it like on the side of her neck.
I don't remember where she gets it.
I don't either,
Yeah.
to be honest. All right. Chapter 65, The One Who Deserves It. Another Shallan flashback.
I have all I wrote was Shallan flashback.
Oh, okay.
What happens? Let's see.
Let's find out. Let's see. Oh, this is when they're just talking more about leaving.
Mm-hmm. And she finds Melise in like her and her father's room and everything.
Yeah.
And she's like, how can everybody ignore that blinding light?
Yes.
From the lockbox and everything.
Yes. And there's the last little piece of this chapter.
Oh yeah.
Melise says, if I go and Balat with me, who will he hate? Who will he hit? Maybe you, finally, the one who actually deserves it. Which is just like...
That's such a crazy thing to say to somebody.
Yeah. And it's like, then Melise must know.
Melise must know. And I feel like we can say it.
No.
No.
We don't know yet.
We don't know. We know.
We don't know. It hasn't been said outright.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. This is very entertaining. We're just like, that's what happens. It's very straightforward.
Yeah. He's like basically saying that I think this is maybe where they start the plan for them to leave.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. This is where it was. I think I was mistaken with the last flashback.
It's okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. This is where they make the plan for him to go to Helleran and take Melise and Elita. So, all right. Cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then chapter 66, Storm Blessings.
Storm Blessings. Kaladin is released from prison and is surprised to see that Adolin also is released. He learns that Adolin chose to take the punishment along with him, and the two gained a newfound respect. Adolin then gifts Kaladin a set of shards, and he immediately gives them to Moash. He then tells Moash that he agrees with Graves' plan. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the only thing that I have marked in this entire chapter, Kaladin reached the jailer, taking him by the arm. What is happening? The king put Dalinar's heir in here? The king didn't have anything to do with it, the jailer said. Bright Lord Adolin insisted. So long as you were in here, he wouldn't leave. We tried to stop him, but the man is a prince. We can't storming make him do anything, not even leave. He locked himself away in a cell, and we just had to live with it. But yeah, then he thinks back to like the first day that he was put in jail, and he was hearing like a disturbance, and so Kaladin was like, "Oh, it must have been Adolin, forcing himself into prison."
Mm-hmm. I really like. They're like talking, and he says, "Wait, are you wearing cologne in prison?" Well, there was no need to be barbaric just because I was incarcerated. Storms, you're spoiled. Kaladin said, smiling. I'm refined, you insolent farmer. Adolin said, then he grinned. Besides, I'll have you know that I had to use cold water for my baths while here. Poor boy, I know. It's great.
Yeah, their banter's definitely becoming a lot better because I think you can tell that Kaladin actually is starting to like Adolin.
Oh, yeah, especially now.
Yeah, like it's I think this is definitely like kind of a turning point for them, for Kaladin to be like, Adolin forced himself to sit in here because I was sitting in here, which is like already kind of a huge thing. But I think after that point, he was like, okay. Like, he respects Adolin because
this guy might be all right.
Yeah, like I think he knew that Adolin was good.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, even initially, like, when he sees Adolin for the first time, he's helping a woman.
Yes.
And so, yeah, I think he knows that Adolin is inherently good, but, like, Kaladin just has such a thing against Light Eyes that he just, like, it has a hard time
He's a huge chip on his shoulder.
Yeah, it has a hard time believing that any of them are good or that he could like any of them.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
He said, bah, you didn't ruin it. Elhokar did that. You'd think he wouldn't have simply ignored your request and proceeded, letting me expand on my challenge to Sadeas. He threw a tantrum instead of taking control of the crowd and pushing forward, storming man. And then a little on after that, he said, the things you said about Amaram, were they true? Every one. I've always wondered what that man was hiding. Wait, you believe me?
Mm-hmm.
My father is the best man I know, perhaps the best man alive. Even if he loses his temper, makes bad judgment calls, and has a troubled past, Amaram never seems to do anything wrong.
Yes.
If you listen to the stories about him, it's like everyone expects him to glow in the dark and piss nectar. That stinks to me of someone who works too hard to maintain his reputation. Yeah, that makes sense to me.
I agree. And it's like, it's cool that Adolin was just like, yeah, no, I believe you.
Yeah.
Like, Dalinar obviously has his own, like, thing about it, but Adolin is like, yeah, no, his reputation's too clean. I believe you.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's pretty cool.
It's pretty cool.
But yeah, I don't have anything else.
I like how casually Kaladin just gives the shards to Moash.
Yeah, and Adolin's like, hey, man, I'm giving you shards. Do you want to think about that a little harder? And Kaladin's like, no. And like, the reasoning he gives, he's like, you know, I look at those and, excuse me, he's like, I look at those and I see the shard plate and I just think about how many people I've cared about that have been killed by those, which I think is like really valid. But like, Adolin's like, do you realize if I give you these and you become like one of the most important people just like ever?
Yeah.
And Kaladin's like, yeah, give him to Moash.
Yeah. No, don't give him to Moash.
I know.
Oh, God.
I feel like it could. There's so many other bridgemen that would have done right.
There's not. He had to give him to Moash. Yeah,
Why do you feel like he needed to give them to Moash?
Moash is his go-to guy. He's the best warrior they have.
I guess.
Who else would he give it to?
I don't know. Just anybody that wasn't trying to kill the king.
What? He had to. But and here's the thing. Immediately after that, he agrees. I agree with your plan.
Yeah.
You can take down Elhokar.
Yeah, he says go for it.
Yeah. 67.
Spit and bile.
Dalinar and Navani discuss Fabrials and Navani's grief. They attend a feast where they learn that someone has published Navani's notes on Dalinar's visions and have changed the words. Dalinar then tells the whole court that from now on, he will let every note about his visions be public.
Okay, so I have a note kind of right at the start of the chapter. That's like a couple pages back, but you know, Dalinar is comforting Navani in her grief, and they're in a hug, and she eventually pulls back, composing herself. She says, you're right. This is the first time for me dealing with this. How did you manage it when Shh died? I know you love your Dalinar. You don't have to deny it for my ego. He hesitated the first time, an implication that when Gavilar had died, she had not been broken up about it. She had never stated so outright an implication of the difficulties the two had been having.
Mm-hmm.
So I just think it's interesting. Like, obviously Gavilar's dead. We don't really get any flashbacks to his life or anything. So I just think it's interesting that Navani wasn't really torn up about his death.
No.
Yikes.
Well. All right.
And I have a note when we get to the feast, but if you have anything before that.
You go right ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
So everybody's favorite wit is present.
He's back.
And Wit says, this is when Amaram's coming into the feast. Wit says, "Why, Bright Lord Amaram, I was hoping I'd be able to see you tonight. I've spent my life learning to make others feel miserable, and so it's a true joy to meet someone as innately talented in that very skill as you are." And Amaram goes, "Do I know you?" And Wit says, "No, but fortunately you can add it to the list of many, many things of which you are ignorant. But now I've met you," Amaram said, holding out a hand, so the list is one smaller. "Please," Wit said, refusing the hand. "I wouldn't want it to rub off on me." "It? Whatever you've been using to make your hands look clean, Bright Lord Amaram. It must be powerful stuff indeed."
It's awesome. I love Wit. I love him.
I do too.
He's great.
But yeah, that was one of those moments where I was like, "Ooh,
dang,
yeah, get
him,
dang." Yeah, I my other note is also later in the feast, but that moment where he's like, "Oh, whatever you're using to keep your hands clean must be pretty strong, considering you are the worst."
Yeah.
Yep. Oh, not the Discord notifications.
Yeah. It's our Discord too.
Oops.
Yeah. So there, I have marked here where Amaram is telling like what everybody's talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And he just goes, Amaram met his eyes. They are obviously visions from the Almighty himself, given to us in a time of great need. I wish I had known their contents earlier. They give me great confidence in my position and in your appointment as prophet of the Almighty. A dead god can have no prophets. Dead? No, Dalinar. You obviously misinterpret that comment from your visions. He speaks of being dead in the minds of men and that they no longer listen to his commands. God cannot die. Amaram seemed so earnest. Why didn't he help your sons? Kaladin's voice rang into Dalinar's mind.
Yeah.
He's starting to slip. Amaram's slipping.
Yeah, Amaram's slipping, and then Dalinar also is starting to question.
Yeah.
So
rightfully so. It's
like on both sides where it's like, okay, Amaram's like, "Oh, God's not dead. Don't worry. Like, it's we're refounding the Night's Radiant. Everything's good. It's fine." And Dalinar's like, "Why didn't you help my son?
Yep.
Why did you not help my son?"
Mm-hmm.
And like he's hearing, he's already heard it from Kaladin. He wasn't close enough to hear the conversation with Wit, but it's still like, yeah. So after he, pardon. Gotta resituate real quick. So this is when he kind of speaks to everybody. And he says, the commentary has been added to discredit me, and the tone of Navani's writing has been changed. I will not hide from what has been happening to me. I've been seeing visions from the Almighty. They come every storm. This should not surprise you. There's been rumors, blah, blah. And he sought out Sadeas, who stood with Aladar and Ruthar. Dalinar gripped the lantern pole, looking back at the Alethi crowd. "I do not blame you for thinking I am mad. It is natural, but in the coming nights, when rain washes your walls and the wind howls, you will wonder. You will question. And soon, when I offer you proof, you will know. This attempt to destroy me will then vindicate me instead."
Mm-hmm.
"There are those among you who assume I will flee or be broken because of this attack. They do not know me as well as they presume. Let the feast continue, for I wish to speak with each and every one of you. The words you hold may mock, but if you must laugh, do it while looking me in my eyes." After that, he steps off the table and it says, then he went to work. So he literally goes around at this feast and talks to everybody, being like, "Ask me questions. What do you think you've heard? Let me dispel that for you. Oh, you think I'm crazy? That's fine."
Yeah. He's
just
also
tell it
asking,
to me.
And he's also like asking them about the expedition that he wants to go on.
Yeah.
Because he's like, I need people to go on this.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we're going to do this regardless if anybody joins me or not.
Right.
And I know like you want to be a part of it.
Mm-hmm.
Dalinar's the goat.
He is. He really is.
Dalinar is absolutely the goat.
I have another thing right at the end of the chapter.
Okay.
Wit says, I'll be leaving soon. And Dalinar says, leave, but you've only just arrived. Wit says, I know, it's incredibly frustrating, I must admit. I've discovered a place that I must be, though to be honest, I'm not exactly sure where I need to be. This always doesn't work as well as I'd like it to. Dalinar asks him, are you one of them? And Wit says, excuse me? Dalinar says, a herald. And Wit laughs and he says, no, thank you, but no. And he says, are you what I'm looking for then? Dalinar says, Radiant? Wit smiled. I am but a man, Dalinar. So much as I wish it were not true at times. I am no Radiant, and while I am your friend, please understand that our goals do not completely align. You must not trust yourself with me. If I have to watch this world crumble and burn to get what I need, I will do so. With tears, yes, but I would let it happen. Dalinar frowns. I will do what I can to help, and for that reason, I must go. I cannot risk too much, because if he finds me, then I become nothing. A soul shredded and broken into pieces that cannot be reassembled. What I do here is more dangerous than you could ever know. Wit, Dalinar called out after he turns to leave. Yes? If who finds you? The one you fight, Dalinar Kholin, the father of hatred. I know that's kind of long-winded, but...
Yeah. The father of hatred.
Yeah. And so...
Who knows?
I mean, I think at this point we already know that Wit is like a supernatural kind of being.
Yeah.
I don't want to say creature because he's human. Or looks human.
Yeah.
I don't really know how to say that. But it's just like he literally says like, "Oh, my soul will be shredded apart if he finds me."
Yeah. Suffice to say, I think we know who our antagonist is.
Yeah.
It is. We've heard the name.
Yeah, but they're not connected yet. I wouldn't say.
Okay.
Yeah. Thaddeus is the antagonist.
Radius.
Okay, so chapter 68, Bridges.
Oh boy.
Oh boy.
Oh yeah. Hey, Wit.
Yeah.
We're about to get into the good stuff.
The
good stuff. Kaladin is on a scouting expedition with Dalinar's army. Accompanying them is Shallan. Adolin, Cal, and Shallan have some fun banter. When out of nowhere, there's a trap, and Kaladin and Shallan are dropped down into the chasm floor. Wow. Wowie wow.
Wowie wow. Let's see. What did I have marked right here?
So, Syl is kind of back to her old ways.
Yes.
And Kaladin says, she says, you're making bad choices. Naughty. Her features mimicked his for a moment, and she jumped forward as to startle him. She laughed and zipped away. Bad choices, naughty. So this was because of his promise to Moash that he'd help assassinate the king. Kaladin sighed, continuing forward.
Yeah, she's totally just like reverted how she was, and she's like trying to tell him what he's doing wrong, and it's just like he literally is like, oh, I think she's just doing this to make me feel bad. Like I don't think he fully believes that their bond is like breaking.
And she says, or he says, you want too much of me. I'm not some glorious knight of ancient days. I'm a broken man. Do you hear me, Syl? I'm broken. She zipped up to him and whispered, that's what they all were, silly.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
That hits.
It does. That's what they all were.
Something that I have marked is kind of just a world building thing.
Yeah.
No permanent bridge led to this plateau, which was just outside the secure area closest to the war camp. These scouts positioned here were vaulters, who leaped chasms at narrow points with the use of long poles. It seems like a job that requires a special brand of craziness. And because of that, Kaladin always felt respect for these men. So it's just interesting. They have like people pole vaulting the chasms, which I think is like...
It's really cool.
Yeah, it's a cool concept. Because I mean, like, you have to imagine before they built these permanent bridges, they were getting around somehow.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just cool. They
big old poles.
Yeah, they just kind of have explanations for that.
Yeah.
And it just gives more world building, like I said.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of cool to see how they navigate the terrain that they live on.
Yeah.
And are going to war on.
Yep. Really neat. I really like the back and forth between Oh wait, no. Before I get to that, this is where Kaladin is talking about Renarin with Dalinar. Do you have any of this marked?
I don't think so. What page?
It's on 965. I don't have it marked, but I forgot to actually. Sir, if I may say so, your son seems like kind of a misfit, out of place, awkward, alone. Dalinar nodded. Then I can say with confidence that Bridge 4 is probably the best place he can find himself. Felt odd to be saying it of Light Eyes, but it was true. Dalinar grunted. I'll trust your judgment. Go make sure those men of yours are on watch for the assassin. Yeah.
That's what I wanted to bring up last episode, and I had to I had to hold my tongue because like in the last episode we were talking about like when Renarin joined Bridge 4, and like I think I even said like he's weird and he doesn't fit in. Of course Bridge 4 is like the best place for him.
Yeah.
And so I like just that whole interaction of like this is the best place for him.
Yeah. And before that, they note that he's refusing to train with Zahel anymore. And that, as far as they know, he hasn't summoned his shard blade in weeks.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
I have we have a funny moment in this chapter where, Kaladin and Adolin are talking about the assassin in white. And Adolin's like, we need more of a plan than just telling the archers to be ready and all this other stuff. And Kaladin's like, do you have any ideas? And Adolin says, you won't have a shard blade, but won't need one because of, And Kaladin's like, I know. He's like, yeah, that thing. And Kaladin's like, what thing? And Aiden's like, the thing with the stuff. And Kaladin's like, he doesn't know. He's just fishing to figure out why it fights so well. And he's doing a really bad job at it. And Kaladin says, I don't think you have any idea what you're talking about. And Adolin goes, there's something odd about you, Bridge Boy. Admit it. So somebody's finally on to him.
Yep.
Like someone that's not Bridge 4.
Adolin of all people.
I know, it's Adolin. It's so good. Our himbo.
Our himbo knows. He's like, you're something weird about you.
Something's wrong with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We also learn what's wrong with Syl.
Do we?
Yes.
What does it say?
Syl, are you all right? You seem like you were before when we first met. She looked up at him and her eyes became more focused, her expression like that of her normal self. You have to decide what you want, Kaladin. You don't like Moash's plan. Are you trying to force me to change my mind regarding him? She scrunched up her face. I don't want to force you to do anything. You have to do what you think is right. That's what I'm trying to do. No, I don't think you are. Fine, I'll tell Moash and his friends that I'm out and I'm not going to help them. But you gave Moash your word. I gave my word to Dalinar too. She drew her lips to a line, meeting his eyes. That's the problem, isn't it? I've made 2 promises, and I can't keep my word to both. Oh, storms. Was this the sort of thing that had destroyed the Knight's Radiance? And he asks, what do I do, Syl? She says, you must speak the words. I don't know them. Find them. Find them soon, Kaladin. And no, simply telling Moash you won't help isn't going to work. We've gone too far for that. You need to do what your heart needs to do.
Ooh. Yeah. So we know why she's... It's because he agreed to help Moash is why... I'm sorry, Nova, I hit the couch a little hard and she was like out of her sleep. He agreed to help Moash, but he also has promised Dalinar that he will protect the king. But Moash, he's like agreed to kill the king or help kill the king. And it's like, you can't do both.
Nope.
And be honorable.
Yep.
So...
Moash's eyes are also starting to lighten up.
Yes, with
so, like,
the
the stories
blade.
are true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a really cute interaction between Shallan and Kaladin here. Where she's Shallan's like, "You're a really hateful man, aren't you? Underneath the mock boredom, the dangerous glares, the growls, you just hate people. Is that it?" And he's like, "What? No, like..." And she says, Adolin is trying. He feels bad for what happened to you, and he's doing what he can to make up for it. He is a good man. Is it too much for you to stop provoking him? And Kaladin says, he calls me Bridge Boy. He's been provoking me. And she said, yes, because he is the one storming around with alternating scowls and insults. Adolin Kholin, the most difficult man to get along with on the Shattered Plains. I mean, look at him. He's so unlikable. And then they gesture over, and Adolin is laughing with the dark-eyed water boys. The groom walks up with Adolin's horse, and Adolin took his shard plate helm off the carrying post, handing it over, letting the water boys try it on. And so Kaladin, he just so badly wants to hate Adolin, and Adolin's just like, actually the coolest and nicest dude. And Shallan is like, yeah, he's the worst person. He's so hard to get along with. Look at him. And then he's like,
literally playing with little kids.
Yeah. Who are dark-eyed.
Yeah.
So...
God. He's so good. Adolin gives the best golden retriever energy.
He does.
I love him.
I love him too.
He's just so good.
He is so good.
He's a good guy.
He's the best guy.
Would you have anything else?
No, I don't.
Okay. We talk a lot. A lot happens.
After this point, I mean, it's a long chapter. At the end of this chapter, Kaladin starts sprinting because he recognizes the guy from Thaddeus's war camp, and he realizes what's about to happen. So he starts sprinting towards Dalinar to save him. And Adolin sees Kaladin running, and he doesn't know what's going on. He doesn't know what Kaladin sees, but Adolin starts running, and then the bridge collapses into the chasm.
Chapter 69.
Nothing.
Nice. Kaladin and Shallan find each other both alive, and both are shocked and think they each have something to do with it. They begin trying to make their way back to the war camps when suddenly they realize a chasm fiend is near and begin to run.
Yeah. I actually have no notes in this chapter, weirdly enough. It is decently long, but...
It is. It's very straightforward.
Take a shot every time we say it's pretty straightforward.
Yeah. It's like cut and dry. How about that? You like that better?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but...
I find it funny that each of them think...
They saved the other.
Yeah.
Because neither of them knows that they're surge binders. And I also really like... Well, I don't really like this, but I think in this chapter, he like calls out for Syl several times, and she's just like nowhere to be found.
Swimming through pain, the pain washed over him, a liquid, but did not get inside. His skin kept it out. What have you done? A distant voice sounded like rumbling thunder.
I couldn't remember if this was in that chapter or not. I think I meant to mark that initially, and I didn't, but because I remember that exact thing and being like,
yes.
Yeah.
Anyway, I guess let's move on to the next chapter if we don't have anything else to say.
Yeah. Chapter 70, From a Nightmare.
Yes, From a Nightmare.
They're being chased by a chasm. Oh, well, you have summaries.
Yes, I do.
He does.
Some time passes and the two and the two are struggling to get their bearings. After some disagreements and somewhat camaraderie, they decide to trust each other.
Yeah. They're being chased by the chasm fiend. They end up... No, this isn't when that happens. They end up getting away.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Great. Sorry. I had to reorient myself.
I really like this description of the chasm fiend. If you would like
to
hear it.
Go for it.
It was all wrong. Wrong in a way difficult to describe. Big creatures were supposed to be slow and docile like chulls, yet this enormous beast moved with ease, its legs up and on the sides of the chasm, holding it so that its body barely touched the ground. It ate the corpse of a fallen soldier, grasping the body in smaller claws by its mouth, then ripping it in half with a gruesome bite. I really like that, because, yeah, big things aren't supposed to move fast.
Yes. I would be mortified if I, for example, saw an elephant and it's sprinting at me at a very high speed.
Yeah.
I think I'd probably be pretty scared.
Right.
Because it's like, oh, it's a big guy. He's just taking his time, moseying along. I think I'd be mortified if an elephant charged at me.
Yeah. Shallan also notices that there are spren. She says, I've seen those. They dance around the chasm fiend and were the source of the light. They look like small glowing arrows, and they surrounded the beast in schools. Through occasionally one would drift away from the others and then vanish like a small plume of smoke rising to the air. Sky eels, they follow sky eels too. The chasm fiend like corpses. Could its kind be carrion feeders by nature? Yeah. So new spren that follow creatures.
Something I have marked, and this is when Shallan starts drawing out the chasms and just like the shattered plains from where they are. Kaladin looks at it and he says, you remember that well? Or you remember it that well? And she says, Stormwinds. Hadn't she intended to keep her visual memory more secret than this? She goes, no, not really. I'm guessing at a lot of this. She felt foolish for revealing her skill. Vale would have had words with her. It was too bad Vale wasn't down here, actually. She would be better at this whole surviving in the wilderness thing. And I think it's just interesting how she is.
We're starting to see her separate Vale from herself.
Yeah, the separation. Yes. Of Shallan and Vale.
Isn't that interesting? Yeah,
because in the last part, she was like, oh, Vale is still me, but it's a part of me. And then now she's at this point where she's like, man, I wish I were Vale that was down here. She'd be better at this than I am. So it's she's not really recognizing it as it's still she's still Shallan, but just different.
Yeah.
Now she's like, well, that's Vale, and I'm Shallan. So it's just interesting.
Boy, howdy.
Yeah. But I don't have anything else in that chapter marked, at least.
I don't either.
Gosh, we're cooking through this.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get to the meat back here.
The meat.
All the good stuff.
Oh, yeah. We're in the good stuff, I think.
I mean, we are in the good stuff.
This is probably one of my favorite sections of this book, if not my favorite. This is a lot of people's favorite section.
Really?
Yeah. Jenna, my friend Jenna. Have you actually met her?
She was at Dragonsteel.
No, she's not.
Jenna.
Yes, she was.
Yeah.
Yes, she was.
I was like, wait, I thought.
Yes, she was.
Okay.
This is her favorite section of the book. I'm pretty sure she wanted us to talk about it and everything during our wrap up, and we definitely will.
Okay.
Talk more about it.
Cool. Thank you for listening, Jenna.
She doesn't listen.
Oh. Thank you for not listening, Jenna.
Maybe when she actually starts her reread, she will.
She will, yeah. I hope so.
Yeah.
If you're hearing this now. Hi, Jenna.
Hi, Jenna. 71. Vigil. Sigil and Teft await Kaladin's return and inform Dalinar that he will indeed be coming out of the chasms alive. Kaladin and Shallan realize they're completely lost, and a chasm fiend shows up. How fun. The two find safety in a small crevice, but are trapped.
Yeah, I love the next chapter. But I do like this one as well. I really like how we have gone so far with Kaladin, and Teft and Sigil, Bridge 4 in general, sees that Kaladin just fell several hundred feet into a chasm.
Yeah.
And every other normal person is like, oh, he's dead.
He's dead.
That sucks. And they're like, no. Don't worry. Like, he'll come crawling out of there. Don't worry. He'll be here in a couple. Like, give him a day. He'll be here. 24 hours.
Yeah.
He'll be back.
And Dallyn's just like, I understand. And they're like, no, you don't. Hey, this guy is going to come out of that chasm.
Hey,
like,
storm blessed, brother.
Yeah.
Like, you're not listening. Yes?
Didn't even touch on this.
What?
We learn about, like, Tef's background.
Yeah. Yes, that's actually what I had marked here on the first page.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so they're talking about, what are they called? I'm so scared to say that word.
Invisitors?
Invisitors, yes. Okay. So he's talking to Sigil, and Sigil's like the world singer, so he already hears so much about these different cultures and different places. So for Tef to like open up to Sigil of all people felt really appropriate, but also I was like, he knows this guy's gonna keep this,
Yeah.
So he's talking about where he's from, and he says they thought that people were more likely to manifest powers if their lives were in danger. So they'd put their lives in danger. Members of their own group, never an innocent outsider, blessed the winds. But that was bad enough. I watched people let themselves be pushed off cliffs, watched them tied in place with a candle, slowly burning a rope until it snapped, and dropped a rock to crush them. It was bad, Sigil. Awful. The sort of thing nobody should have to watch, especially a boy of 6. And like Sigil was like, well, what did you do? And Tef said, I turned them into the city lord. He held a trial for them, a big one, had them all executed in the end. Never did understand that. They were only a danger to themselves. Their punishment for threatening suicide was to be killed. Nonsense, that is. Should have found a way to help them. And then Sigil says, your parents? And Tef says, my mother died in that rock string contraption. She really believed, Sig, that she had it in her, the powers, that if she were about to die, they'd come out in her and she'd save herself. And he said, you watch? He said, storms no. You think they let her son watch that? Are you mad? He said, but I did watch my father die, though. He was hanged, which is, we assume he probably was a part of that execution of the whole group.
Mm-hmm.
So we finally get Tef's background, because he had brought up the group before in The Way of Kings when Kaladin's like powers are first manifesting, and he's like, oh my god, they were right. Like he says something about that in the first book. So, or no, it's when he's talking to Kaladin, being like, it's how Tef knew so much about his powers.
Yeah,
because he grew up in this cult that knew about the Radiance and like believed in this, so he knew kind of what to look for with Kaladin.
Yep.
Yes.
I marked in this chapter when Shallan is trying to like go through her map that she's trying to make and everything, but she can't remember the maps of the planes that well.
Yeah.
And Kaladin, let's see. She shook her head. What are the chances that a series of plateaus would take the exact same shape as those on another part of the plains? Not just one, but an entire sequence. The plains are symmetrical, Kaladin said. She froze. How do you know that? It was a dream. I saw the plateaus arranged in a wide symmetrical formation. She looked back at her maps, then gasped. She began scribbling notes on the side. Cymatics. Cymatics.
I knew one of us was going to have to bring it up.
Dude.
It's also like, it's so funny. She's like, how do you know it's symmetrical? And he's like, oh, I had a dream. Definitely did not fly over them or anything. Let's see. And then this is also where she realizes, like, once this happens, because it's symmetrical, she was like, I know where the Parshendi are and the Oath Gate, the center of the Shattered Plains. I can see it. I can map almost the entire thing. And then she's like, we have to get back. And he's like, and they're like, oh, he's like, I know the high storm. She says, more than that, I know too much now to die out here. And then talking about how the Shattered Plains used to be a city and now it's broken apart. But this is when she's like, literally, I can't die out here. I know too much right now. That's dope. And then one of my favorite Shallan Kaladin interactions is after this.
You go right ahead and talk about it.
You don't have anything in between that?
I don't think so. I feel like we might be talking about the same thing.
Okay. Kaladin says to her, Shallan keeps saying, we'll be fine.
Mm-hmm.
And she says, you think I'm still too optimistic, don't you? Kaladin says, it's not your fault. I'd rather be like you. I'd rather not have lived the life I have. I would rather be the world that is only full of people like you, Shallan Devar. People who don't understand pain. Oh, all people understand pain. That's not what I'm talking about. It's the sorrow, Shallan said softly, of watching a life crumble, of struggling to grab it, to hold on, but feeling hope become stringy sinew and blood beneath your fingers as everything collapses. Yes. The sensation, it's not sorrow, but something deeper of being broken, of being crushed so often and so hatefully that emotion becomes something you can only wish for. If only you could cry, because then you'd feel something. Instead, you feel nothing, just haze and smoke inside, like you're already dead. The crushing guilt of being powerless, of wishing they'd hurt you instead of those around you, of screaming and scrambling and hating as those you love are ruined, popped like a boil, and you have to watch their joy seeping away while you can't do anything. They break the ones you love and not you, and you plead, can you just beat me instead? Yes, he whispered. Shallan nodded, holding his eyes. Yes, it would be nice if nobody in the world knew of those things, Kaladin Stormblessed. I agree. With everything I have. He saw it in her eyes, the anguish, the frustration, the terrible nothing that clawed inside and sought to smother her. She knew it was there inside. She had been broken. And then she smiled. Oh, Storms. She smiled anyway. It was the most beautiful thing he'd seen in his entire life.
Yeah. Sorry, Nova.
And he says, how? He shrugged lightly. Helps if you're crazy.
Mm.
Come on, we're on a time constraint. I just love that whole thing because it's like the first time that Kaladin really realizes that people that have had a better life, like quote unquote better life than him,
haven't always had a better life.
Right. And they can still be broken.
Yeah.
And then there's also like a moment that he has where he's like, he thinks about if, Tien was always the light in the dark for him, but he was like, what if I had to be the light?
Mm-hmm.
What if it was me?
Yeah.
Which I think is interesting.
It is. Yeah, this is where they kind of start just like having a nice back and forth,
Mm-hmm.
where they're just like, let's look at the positive things.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then Kaladin makes this remark. You could say, he told her as he stepped down off the pile, that we were given only a pittance. A pittance. And it's just like, Kaladin is like making a joke, which is really funny. And
Shallan's like, oh my God, it's horrible.
Mm-hmm. He says, I know, I'm sorry. My mother would be disappointed. She didn't like wordplay? No, she loved it. She'd just be mad I tried to do it when she wasn't around to laugh at me.
Which is so cute.
Yeah.
Then the chasm fiend shows up.
Yes.
In the way this chapter ends.
Uh-huh.
So good.
Uh-huh.
But I like what Kaladin says before he's like, you know what? I'm going to take my spear. I'm going to go out. Hopefully, Shallan's smart enough. She'll figure her own way out.
Yep.
He gripped his spear. The way things have been going with him lately, perhaps that was what he deserved. Which is in a reference to Shallan saying, like, Kaladin, it will kill you if you go out and fight the chasm fiend.
Mm-hmm.
And Kaladin says, apologize to Adolin for me. I actually kind of like him. He's a good man. Not just for Elidice, just a good person. I've never given him the credit he deserves. And then she says, Kaladin. He says, it has to happen, Shallan. She says, at least take this. He says, take what? This. And she summons a shard blade. Sorry, feeling a little crazy right now.
It's so good.
Kaladin, the next chapter starts with Kaladin stared at the glistening length of metal, which dripped with condensation from its summoning. Shallan had a shard blade. How? Not important. I'd rather think it is. Not at the moment.
It's true.
It's like, we're about to die. Can you go kill it now? Like,
through the means of Kaladin using Shallan's shard blade and Shallan using her abilities, they defeat the chasm fiend.
Yippee!
Yippee!
Wahoo!
Yay! Hooray!
Wah!
Huzzah!
We do see. Oh,
I don't have any notes in this chapter, Whitney. So
I do have one, maybe more, depending on how long this chapter is. Okay, no, I only have one. Shallan uses light weaving in front of Kaladin.
Yes.
To where she makes it like she tricks the chasm fiend by creating another Kaladin, and it runs out in front of the chasm fiend, and he's like, "Huh?"
Oh.
He's like, "What had he done? How had he done it?" Because he sees it puff out into stormlight.
Yep.
And he's like, "You know what? Whatever. I lived." And then that's when he kills the chasm fiend, and the head crashes down onto Kaladin.
Yes.
And then the way this chapter ends, Shallan takes the storm blade, or the God, I'm getting all the words mixed up. The shard blade, and Kaladin is like, cut handholds in the walls, climb up. We need to get above the water line and make us just like get. He says, get yourself in the cubby and be safe. And she's like, what about you? And he's like, it's cool. Don't worry about it. And she's like, all right, I'm gonna do this, and then you have to climb up and get in here with me. So, and
he has a messed up leg too. So
yeah, his leg is all like broken and stuff. Chapter 73, 1,000 scurrying creatures. Shallan flashback.
Shallan flashback.
Shallan flashback.
Shallan is helping Balat prepare to leave when Wickham,
Wickham,
like from Pride and Prejudice. Wickham bursts in and tells them that Elyta is meeting with their father. Their father bars them from getting married, and a duel breaks out between Balat and him. Meanwhile, Shallan finds the body of Malise. Shallan goes and gives her father some wine, as he has injured Balat and believes that the fight is over. The wine is poisoned, but not enough to kill him, and just has him paralyzed. Shallan then has to finish the job.
Yeah, I marked where she says to Wickham, you gave me something a few years ago, a pouch. I kept it. You said it grows more potent over time. He goes, oh, Stormfather, the Blackbane? And she said, yeah, and his wine. Malise is dead by the kitchen. He went too far. And then, yeah. And then they find the Soulcaster.
They do. This is full circle. We find the Soulcaster now.
And when he was in the duel with Balat,
it got cut.
Yeah, so Balat like went to stab him, but he missed. But he heard like metal like clink when he hit him, like kind of missed his side, which was a Soulcaster breaking.
I really like how this ends. It's very poetic
with the lullaby.
But also like Shallan strangles him.
Yes.
With the necklace that he gifted her.
It's really dark.
It's really dark. And like, that's why I say like poetic.
Yeah. And it's the same lullaby that he used to sing for her when she was a child, when she was afraid.
It's very dark. And I love this chapter a lot. Because this is finally everything following. It seems to be like this is finally where we get all the information before Shallan goes and tries and finds Yasna.
This is like everything up until we first meet her and she's on the boat going to Carburanth.
Again, I don't have much to say with this one. It's just so well written, so well done.
Yeah. And it's dark, it's poetic. It's gothic.
It's gothic. It's gothic.
It is gothic.
Ugh.
All right. Chapter 74. Starting the storm.
Kaladin and Shallan are both huddled in the cubby they made during the storm. Soon the Stormfather visits him and tells Kaladin that he has killed Syl. The vision ends, and Shallan says that she also saw him. Soon the storm ends, and both fall asleep. So it's kind of confirmed that the reason that Kaladin cannot find Syl
is because he killed her.
He killed her.
Yeah.
By essentially breaking his oath.
Yeah, he was an honorable.
No.
And something that happens really early on here is Shallan is like, I need to hear. Shallan's like, just tell me anything other, like just talk about anything than this storm. And Kaladin tells Shallan everything about his entire life, about Amaram, everything.
Yes.
Well,
he leaves out some details.
He doesn't tell her that he killed a Shardbearer.
Yes.
Because otherwise I think she would have freaked out.
Yeah, because then Shallan tells him everything.
Yeah. And let's see. Something that Kaladin says when Shallan is talking about her youth and the terrors of like her father and everything. Kaladin had thought his life was terrible, but there was one thing he'd had, and perhaps not cherished enough. Parents who loved him. Rishon had brought damnation itself to Hearthstone, but at least Kaladin's mother and father had always been there to rely upon. Which I just thought was like a nice thing.
Mm-hmm.
And just kind of like,
yeah.
Just like he recognizes like, you know, my life was really horrible at one point, but at least I still had my family.
Yeah.
And I still had my mother and father, and Shallan didn't have that.
Yeah.
So it's just more of him finally being like, yeah, light eyes are okay. And some people are just as broken as I am. Some people have had it just as bad or worse than me.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I don't have anything else.
True Glory. Chapter 75.
Is this the last one? Oh my god, it is.
2 more.
2 more?
Yeah.
What?
75, 76.
Okay.
Dalinar is speaking with Amaram when they get the news that Kaladin has escaped the chasms. He runs all the way and finds him along with Shallan and a gem heart. Navani also takes Shallan into her arms and truly accepts her.
I know, that part is so sweet.
It is.
Where Navani's like, oh my god, we need to take care of her.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. There's a moment. I love that when Dalinar, who was it? A messenger comes up and said, he came out of the chasms, and Dalinar says, who? And she says, Stormblessed. And then there's like a break to show that it's like, you know, just a break in the story.
Yeah.
And then the next sentence is, Dalinar ran the entire way. But there's a moment when Dalinar gets there and he finds Kaladin. Kaladin hauls himself up tall, using a spear to support his bad leg. Then he raised his hand to his breast, a slow motion as if the arm were tied with weights. It was, Dalinar figured, the most tired salute he'd ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
And I like that he says, Dalinar's like, how you fell into a chasm. And Kaladin says, I fell face first, sir. Unfortunately, I'm particularly hard-headed, which I just think is hysterical. But he says, you know, I'm sorry. I really don't know how I would survive. Some Spren were involved, we think. Hiked back to the chasms, had a duty to see to. And then Shallan. And Kaladin says, one future daughter-in-law delivered safe and sound. Sorry about the damage done to the package. And it's just like... And that's when Navani sees her and is like, oh my god, we have to make you perfect again. Are you hurt? Like, and Shallan's like, I'm good, but like, thanks.
Yeah. And I love that he says, I really wanted to get back before that. Or Dalinar says, but there was a high storm.
Mm-hmm.
We really wanted to get back before that. Ran into some trouble along the way, I'm afraid. You know how everyone kept saying there was a chasm fiend prowling around in the nearby chasms?
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Kaladin lifted the remnants of his coat away from the table, revealing a massive green gemstone. Though bulbous and uncut, the gemstone shone with a powerful inner light. Yeah, we took care of that for you, sir.
And then Shallan's like, oh, don't be so melodramatic.
Yeah.
We found the beast already dead and rotting.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so... Because I think, like, Shallan's like, don't let them get on to us.
Mm-hmm.
Like, be smart about this.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Kaladin. So, Sir Radiance Shallan has found something out, something you need to know. Talk to her before you set out. I'll do your men waited for you, Stormblessed. They skipped meals, pulled triple shifts. I half think they'd have sat out here at the head of the chasms through the high storm itself if I hadn't intervened. They're good men. It's more than that. They knew you would return. What is it they understand about you that I don't? Kaladin met his eyes. I've been searching for you, haven't I? All this time without seeing it. Kaladin looked away. No, sir. Maybe once. But I'm just what you see and not what you think. I'm sorry. Yeah. And I like how he says, give him anything he wants or needs, Dalinar said to the surgeons, letting them approach. This man is a hero. Again.
Yeah. It's so tough.
It's so tough, dude.
And I like that.
Oh, I'm wrong. It is not. It's just chapter 75.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, it's just split. Sorry.
No, it's all good. So I do like. Oh, what was I about to say? They talk about the recreants again. Shallan and Pattern do, and then she sees Adolin. It's the first time they kiss.
Mm-hmm.
But I like that Shallan literally is like, I have to go with them to the Shattered Plains. I know too much.
Mm-hmm.
And then Navani's like, you don't need to do that. It's fine. And then Dalinar goes to her and he's like, I need a favor. And she goes to Dalinar first because Dalinar talks to Navani. And Navani's like, no, it's too dangerous. You can't take her out there with you. Like, she just got back from there.
Mm-hmm.
And then Shallan goes to him and is like, hey, I need to, I need something from you. And I have a difficult request. And she says, I need to come with you.
Mm-hmm.
So Dalinar
just smiled.
And Navani's like, are you dumb? No, she literally is like, but she says, this expedition will be dangerous. You understand this? He says, yes. And Navani says, one would think that considering your recent ordeal, you would wish for a time of shelter. Oh, and we also have that thing with Adolin.
Oh, yeah.
Where, oh my gosh, where he says something to her and is like, I'll protect you. I'll never let this happen to you again.
You want me to read it?
Yes, please.
I will make sure you aren't ever hurt. Oh, hold on. He embraced her once more. Well, I won't let it happen again. Nothing like it. I'll protect you, Shallan. She stiffened. I will make sure you aren't ever hurt, Adolin said fiercely. I should have realized that you could be caught in an assassination attempt intended for father. We'll have to make it so that you aren't ever in that kind of position ever again. She pulled away from him. Shallan? Don't worry. They won't get to you. I'll protect you. Don't say things like that, she hissed. What? He ran his hand through his hair. Just don't, Shallan said, shivering. The man who did this, who threw that lever, is dead now, Adolin said. Is that what you're worried about? He was poisoned before we could get answers, though we're sure he belonged to Sadeas. But you don't need to worry about him. I will worry about what I wish to worry about, Shallan said. I don't need to be protected, but I don't. She breathed in and out, calming herself. She reached out and took him by the hand. I won't be locked away again, Adolin. Again, it's not important. Shallan raised his hand and wove his fingers between her own. I appreciate the concern. That's all that matters. But I won't let you or anyone else treat me like a thing to be hidden away. Never, never again.
Period.
That's right.
Nova was like, yeah. So then, like, when they have this interaction, Adolin says, "Oh, I wouldn't say something like that to her aunt. She's kind of funny about them."
Mm-hmm.
But the last thing that happens is Shallan's like, I have a big ask of you if I'm going to go on this expedition with you.
Mm-hmm.
And Dalinar is like, there is nothing you could ask. That is too much. And she's like, I need you to leave your parchment behind.
Yep.
And she's like, I can't explain it, but you have to leave them behind.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, I guess we really won't need them. Once we're done packing, the people will just have to pitch their own tents and stuff.
Yeah.
And she's like, great. He's like,
cool.
Great.
Yeah.
And so the next part, they'll go on their expedition.
Yes.
Without the parchment.
Yes. I think that part 4 may be better than part 3.
Okay.
I think I put them on par with each other for different reasons.
Mm-hmm.
I love all the chasm stuff. I love the Shallan flashbacks and everything. We finally get that resolved and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a good contrast between like
living out the dog.
Yeah, I see. With
he wants to read Mistborn.
4 of The Way of Kings, that's where we kind of get our big climax.
Mm-hmm.
And then part 5 is just like our,
yeah.
What's it called?
I forget.
So yeah. And how this book, our part 4, we had a lot happen, but I feel like we have so much more that's going to happen in part 5.
Yeah.
Probably because part 5 is also longer.
Yes, because the one in Way of Kings was like 100 pages.
Yeah.
This one is significantly longer.
Mm-hmm.
So, presumably the next part is going to be them on the expedition. So.
And I imagine they're going to run into the Parshendi, the listeners.
Who's to say? I don't know.
Who's to say?
I've never read these books before in my life.
Yeah, same.
But yeah, I think both these parts are really good.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I would agree that they're like on par with each other. I don't particularly like one more than the other. I think that they both have equal amounts of things that happen that are like,
yeah,
good. I don't know, just like action packed.
Right.
Yeah. Oh. I do like the chasm scenes with Shallan and Kaladin, though. I do like that we kind of get Kaladin back at the end of this part.
Mm-hmm.
To where, like, he realizes, like, Shallan is so broken as well, and she's fine. And, yeah.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm also broken. I can be fine.
But unfortunately, it's a little too late.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did he just knock over your water bottle?
No, he just nudged it.
Oh, okay. I was like, dang. Yeah, but, like, it is too late because Scylla's dead.
Yeah. He killed her.
Yeah. First we lose Yasna. Now
and
we
lose
lost Syl. Who's next? Anywho.
Wit. I think we're going to call it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are we yapping? Or are we just calling it?
I think we're going to call it. I desperately need to eat.
Yeah, we've been recording since 3 p.m.
And it's currently
8:30.
8:30. So yeah.
Actually, it was really more like 2:30.
Yeah.
So.
Thank you for listening.
Yeah.
To the Listenercast.
Yeah.
Thank you for being a listener.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Yeah. Normally we do a little bit of yapping afterwards, but like we just said, we've been recording for like 6 hours and we're hungry and we both have to, it's Sunday, so we both have to work tomorrow. And
yeah. And we also have Dragon Con this week.
Yes. Oh my God. I guess we can talk about that for a second.
Yeah, just for a second.
Yeah. So Dragon Con is this weekend, which is like the South's Comic Con is what it's been called. It's like one of our biggest conventions, and it's in Atlanta. A ton of people travel to come out here for it. I thankfully just have to get on a train for like 15 minutes and then I'm there.
I have to drive about 20, 25 minutes to get on a train.
Yeah.
And then I'm there. But, a lot of times I'll just drive and park there, and it's fine.
I'm going to figure out if I'm using the train or not. But I also remember parking was like $20 a day last time or something.
It's way more than that.
Yeah. Maybe,
it's like $40 a day.
Yeah. So kind of seems like the right thing to just take the MARTA.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It might be worth if like you carpool with somebody.
Yeah.
If you know anybody going, but
I mean, the people like who I live with is going.
Yeah.
So. But yeah, like I know. Are you cosplaying at all this year?
No. I didn't have time.
Fair. Jack and I are doing Yoshizawa and Joker from Violet and Joker from Persona 5 on Friday. Saturday I'm doing Tifa from Final Fantasy 7. And then Sunday I'm doing Shadowheart from Baldur's Gate.
From Baldur's Gate.
Yeah. So I'm excited. I do have a Marcial cosplay that I was gonna do, but now that I don't think I can go all days of Dragon Con because of other scheduling things, like I'm working Thursday night now, which is fine. I need the money. And I'll probably go Monday early in the day. I think I want to do that Baldur's Gate panel on Monday. But I'm not gonna dress up for Monday when
nobody's
So I'm gonna say Marcial. I think I'm gonna do AWA this year.
Yeah.
So I'll save her for AWA.
I would like to go to AWA, but I just have never gone.
I haven't either. But I have a friend that goes every year, and now that he like lives down here, I'm like, okay, you've been before. But they also is a Scott.
Oh, it's Scott.
Yeah. But they also have like he always like traveled down from Virginia to go to AWA. Yeah. But they've also moved the venue this year.
Oh yeah, where's it at?
It's I don't know, somewhere bigger, but it used to be up in Smyrna.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but now like it was like around Cumberland Mall.
Is it at the
It's downtown now.
Georgia. Wait, it's downtown?
Yeah, it's downtown now. They moved it to a bigger venue. I can't think of where it is though.
Oh.
We'd have to look it up. But yeah, I remember looking at where it was and they moved it down here.
Gotcha.
Because it's gotten so big. And then they also moved the dates. They usually do it in October and they moved it to December.
Yeah.
I think. I believe. I could be wrong on that. Anywho. But yeah, so I'm excited. Have you picked out any programming that you're going to go do yet? Or you like are excited for?
I haven't really got a chance to like look at it too in depth and everything. But you know, we're going to have like a big group down there this year. So
yeah, I'm excited.
Like,
it's going to be a lot to do. I always like the artist alley. That'll be fun. Hoping to get a new Hatsune Miku this year. You
will.
I know.
If you can account for them, there to be plenty of Mikus.
Oh yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, the only thing that I really have that I'm really excited about is the Baldur's Gate panel because they have Shadowheart's voice actor, Astarion, Lae'zel, and Will is who they have. So I am excited to go to those panels. But yeah, other than that, I haven't really. There's like Jack and I were at dinner the other night. We were going through the programming, like picked out some things we thought would be cool for like us and then like for you and like other people. But yeah, as far as we got. Yeah. We didn't get like super in depth, but I was like Baldur's Gate panel and Baldur's Gate. Nothing else mattered.
Yeah.
So, but yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that's as much as you're gonna get yapping out of us today. But thank you for listening. As always, we really appreciate all the support that we have gotten so far and continue to get. Seriously, means the world.
It does.
It's just super cool that anybody cares in the first place. Yeah. So it's dope. Anywho, give it a like, share it with your friends, give us a rating if you're listening on like a podcasting app. All of it's really appreciated and it does help us out. Leave a comment if you want.
Yeah.
And we'll be back next week for part 5 of Words of Radiance.
Yes, we will.
I can't believe we're almost through the second book.
I know.
Oh my god.
This went a lot faster than
Way of Kings did. Yeah, this is crazy. Anywho, we're on track to finish before book 5 comes out. So yeah, as always, thanks for listening and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye-bye.